episode, we're going to be discussing how your fishing line could affect your fishing. So we have here is two types of fishing line. There's a third type that I don't have with me, but it's similar to the one I have here in my left hand, which is fluorocarbon. It's known as monofilament. And I'll talk a little bit about both of these two, as well as the other one that is MIA. We're going to go ahead and start off and talk about how color and strength can affect your fishing when you're out. So, starting with color line, I'm going to tell you that fish are able to see the color line you have, and if it's a bright color, they're definitely going to be able to see it. If it's a transparent color, they're not likely going to see it at all in the water. So with that being said, that's a little note for you to take down, is that picking the right color line will optimize your chances of getting more bites and less chances of not getting any fish at all. And I'll tell you why some people prefer to have those pretty color lines for. And it has to do with a couple of reasons, I guess you could say. One, it's a personal preference, and the other is that some of them prefer to use the color that they use to help them either be able to see if their line is being messed with by the fish or not, and the other is that they're just showing off as the personal thing around other anglers. Like, none of us really care what color your line is really at all, but the fish do. So with that being said, those are some of the reasons why they go with what they go with. You can find Braid, which is this here. That's Braid right there. That's what it looks like. And that's how thin it is. Braid is. So let's talk to you about Braid real quick. So Braid is, it has its pros and it has its cons, I guess you could say. And I won't go in a certain order with them. It's just going to be all over the place. But I will say that with Braid, you can pack more Braid on reels than you can with something like mono and fluorocarbon, depending on the strength of the mono and fluorocarbon that you use. Now, it's kind of the same in a way with Braid. A smaller reel, believe it or not, you can put more Braid that is stronger, in the sense that it's able to pull, to have the pulling of the fish, but when it comes in contact, when Braid comes in contact with the stuff in the water that is sharp, it's going to get broke real fast. Braid is vulnerable to anything sharp that it comes in contact with. So if you have this line come in contact when you get a big fish on or a fish on, and that fish V-lines it for rocks or a dock or barnacles on a piling or whatever, you're going to get broke off real fast. No matter what strength Braid you have, you're probably going to get broke off like watching a hot knife go through butter. And like I said, it's not too bad when it comes to casting. You know, you can get a pretty good cast with Braid compared to mono. Mono and fluorocarbon aren't the greatest for distance casting, but like I said, well, I didn't say, but Braid is also a lot lighter than mono and fluorocarbon. So with Braid out of the way, we're going to talk about mono and fluorocarbon and mono, but mono is kind of missing in action, so mono will have to be included with fluorocarbon or treated as kind of like fluorocarbon. So with the glitter and oil, you may or may not be able to see that. This here is 40 pounds of fluorocarbon. You can probably see the line there, how thick that line is. Now, when we bring over here, I'm going to try to get this 80 pounds of braid. Okay, this is 80 pounds of braid right here. This one is 80 pounds of braid. Okay, you look at the line thickness on that braid, 80 pounds. You look at this one, this is fluorocarbon right there. And you see this is 40 pounds of fluorocarbon, and that's how thick, this is how thick the line is on it. Now, fluorocarbon and mono, fluorocarbon is supposed to be a little bit more stronger than mono. The difference here is price range when it boils down to it. Now, fluorocarbon isn't too bad to have, I guess, if you're fishing around stuff where there's not a lot of structure in the fish you're fishing for. Don't have sandpaper jaws, because when it boils down to wasting money, if you're fishing with fluorocarbon and you have a lot of money to waste, go with fluorocarbon. But the ideal with either using fluorocarbon or mono is two things. You're going to either want to use these for one, either using them for a leader, okay, which they make great leaders. They're strong, so they're able to take a lot of abuse when you're using them with a fishing pole that has braid for the main line. Or you're going to use them as your main line. Those are the only two good reasons for having mono or using mono and fluorocarbon. And like I said, mono and fluorocarbon are strong in the sense that they can take a lot of abuse, but when it comes to trying to pack a lot of stronger line on a smaller reel, for example, you couldn't put as much yards on it as you could with braid, because the diameter of braid is thinner than the diameter of fluorocarbon or mono. This here, which is 80 pounds of braid, for example, this 80 pounds here that I have is basically 18 pounds of mono. It equals to about 18 pounds of mono. Now, this here being fluorocarbon, and the thickness of this line here, this is 40 pounds. And that's how thick 40 pounds is. Trying to put this on a reel, you're not going to get much line on it. So, with that being said, just want to get that out there. So those are going to be your things you should consider when you're picking your line out. A lot of the combo reels out there that are sold in bait shops that are pre-lined probably come already with pre-installed mono. Some of the line may still be good that's on them. You just never know how long that line's been on them reels for before they were sold or brought to the bait shops, or how long they've been in the bait shop for before you came along and bought one. So that's something you got to consider too, that you do have a certain amount of shelf life for your mono and your braid, for that matter too, because braid technically, if fished a lot, my personal opinion is that it should be replaced every year. You should have your whole reel re-spooled every season. You know, at the end of the year, when you're done fishing, or when you plan to get back into serious fishing again, you should definitely go get your reel re-spooled with new line in it. Now, it may be silly to say that, but honestly, I'd rather have fresh line on it. That way I can go out there and start fishing and have brand new line on it, rather than having a year-old line on my reel. That's just personal preference, though. Anyways, though, that pretty much wraps up this episode today. If you have any questions for me, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. If you haven't become subscribed to this YouTube channel, feel free to subscribe today so you can see more videos like this and some other interesting videos to come. And I will see you all in the next episode.